Hey guys, Tony Lockhart here, and we're glazing thumb cups today. Here's what I like to use. I've got a pouring cup for my glaze. I've got a tub of water to clean my sponges. I like to use a small, medium, and a large sponge for cleanup, and a wire whisk for mixing up the glaze. I like using Colonial White by Laguna Clay. It's a cone 5 for stoneware. You can see that the glaze has been settling, so there's like a hazy yellow layer of water at the top, and all of the material has settled to the bottom. What I'm going to do is just mix things up, and after a while I'll be able to use the pouring cup to collect a bunch of the glaze because it's pretty uniform. I start by pouring the glaze into the vessel. What I'll do next is to dump it right back into the glaze bucket, and then I'll very quickly dip it into the glaze, and I'll probably leave it there for about 2 to 3 seconds. After removing the cup, I'll give it a nice twist and a shake because I want as much of that glaze to go back into the bucket as possible. A quick inspection and I'm ready to do another one. So again, here's the process one more time. After mixing up the glaze, I'll pour it into the cup and I'll leave it there for a moment. Next, I'll pour it back and then I'll dip. And after dipping, I'll leave it there for a couple of seconds. Again, give it a twist and a shake. What works for me is to do the exterior dip right after the interior because they both settle and they stick to the clay body nicely. Here's a look at the interior. The next thing I'd like to talk about is troubleshooting. I find that it's best to go back after the glaze has dried and to make little adjustments. So using this little metal rib, I'll go and scrape any imperfections off of the surface. And then sometimes I find that if you use a little bit of a little rubbing motion, it will get some of the glaze to travel downwards and it'll cover the hole that you just created. You could also take a brush or your finger to reapply. In this part of the clip, what I'm doing is scraping off a little bit of the excess. So sometimes when you dip and then you pour everything out and you let the cup drip downwards, there's an excess buildup. So luckily this is a very stable glaze. It doesn't run that much, unlike other glazes that I've used, but I still like to make it a good habit to get rid of that excess glaze. So you can see a couple of scrapes and that's all it takes. Alright, so here's another example. There's some fingerprints and like a slight nudge that created an uneven glaze line. So what I'll do is show you how I use a metal rib to mask off the area. So I decide on where I'm going to go and create that line. I'm scraping off part of the cup. And then what I'll do is I'll take the metal rib and wrap it around the cup. Once it's wrapped around, I'll take a damp sponge and I'll just rub it across the surface. I like to make sure there's enough contact against the rib so that way it doesn't go underneath. Here's another example where I'm going to use the metal rib to mask off the area. So again, I'm scraping off any excess, and part of the reason I scrape off the excess is so that it's easier to wipe off the material with the sponge. Next, I'm going to wrap it around. I'll take a little sponge, and again, I'm going to wipe off the surface. I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, but there's a little bit of glaze that's on the actual surface. You can see like a light powder. So what I'll do in a moment is I'll dip the sponge again to try to remove as much material as I can. Then I'll go back and I'll try to clean off that area. I found that if I leave that haziness, what it does is create some kind of a discoloration. We're almost at the end. Again, the thing that I really try to preach is the importance of making lots of different cups, because you get to throw a lot, you get to trim a lot, you get to glaze a lot, And you know, it just, that practice helps you become proficient. Here's the reveal. Hey, thanks for taking a look.